All right, Shalom. Shalom, I'm Rayala coming at you with another lesson straight out of the Lions Den camp of Yashala. But before I get started with this lesson, I would like to give all praises to the Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son in their proper true names. And we're going to start off by saying Kal, Halayim, La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ha, Rakah, Kodash, Ma'amath. Definitely want to give double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Definitely want to give double honors to my elder apostle, Ahar Banyasa Olive, the Lions Den camp, located right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Shalom to the sincere men, women, and children that believe in sincerity and the truth, and that believe on the names of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. All right, today's lesson is going to be going into prophecy. All right, dealing with the U.S. as well as the state of Israel. All right, and of course Iran. All right, because those three play a major part in the prophecies dealing with Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's prophecy that He has blessed us with, man. Blessed us in the knowledge and in the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of knowing these prophecies. Right? He has given us that information and given us the knowledge to spread this word to our people of the upcoming events of World War III, all right, and of the day of the Lord's return, man. All right, and part of that is dealing with the U.S., all right, the state of Israel, and Iran, man. All right, this is an article here from the Jerusalem Post. It says, any U.S. action against Iran will coordinate with Israel, Huckabee says, right? And my elder just dropped a video on this last week dealing with, Iran, the state of Israel, and the U.S., and how the state of Israel is has drawn America out into these wars, man, into this war. All right, Israel is like a proxy, right? It has drawn America out into these wars, man. So you see, Israel has always, leaned on the United States to help them with Iran and help them with other small proxy wars, right? But most importantly, they always, just like Netanyahu has always said, they've been trying to. He's been doing this since the 90s, even probably, basically saying that Iran has nuclear weapons, man. He has always stated that, right? Always trying to, basically pull America into, backing them, right? To where if anything that Israel, the state of Israel needs, America is going to back them. Right, so they have drawn them into, right, the least of them has drawn them out, man. All right, so let's go into the article a little bit. It says, Huckabee said the decision on a strike had not been made, right, dealing with the deal that the United States has for Iran dealing with their nuclear weapons, right, and if Iran doesn't come up with a come to the table to discuss that deal, right, then it might escalate to something more, right? So this is why you see the destroyers, all these destroyers and aircraft carriers that DJ Nero, right, or Trump has sent to the Middle East, man, all right, to prepare for this, man. But it's always, mostly the state of Israel drawing them out into this, man, and for their protection, all right, to protect them against Iran, all right. So this article says, Huckabee said the decision on a strike had not been made, right, because they're still trying to give Iran some time to come to the table and make a deal. But Iran said it has to be on their terms, man. All right, they don't have the spirit of backing down. That's not in their beliefs, man. It says, adding that President Donald Trump, quote, hopes for the best outcome, end quote, and will pursue a deal if possible. Any U.S. military action against Iran would be closely coordinated, right? Coordinated with Jerusalem. U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, said in an interview with Channel 12 that aired Sunday. Huckabee said the decision on a strike had not been made, adding that U.S. President Donald Trump, quote, hopes for the best outcome, end quote, and would pursue a deal if possible. He emphasized that the U.S. would not accept a nuclear-armed Iran. Right? They're not going to accept it. Right? Mainly because Netanyahu has been one of the main ones in the ears of the presidents and the Congress about Iran having nuclear capabilities and how they're terrorists and how they need a regime change and and just completely dogging on Iran to pull America into backing them, right? Basically, the least of them drawing them out, man. All right. It says he emphasized that the U.S. would not accept a nuclear-armed Iran, and that the pace of events would hinge on Tehran's action. It says, according to the envoy, if Iran escalates, quote, all bets are off, end quote. All right. He said all bets are off, end quote. But for now, Israelis, right, should remain alert and continue daily life. The ambassador said he could not imagine either the U.S. or Israel acting without full coordination with one another. All right. He noted the long-standing security partnership and said any hypothetical operation would reflect that reality, man. Let me read that again. He noted the long-standing security partnership and said any hypothetical operation would reflect that reality. Israeli and American officials have recently discussed the missile threat and border deterrence dynamics, underscoring the need for tight policy alignments, man. All right. So let's grab a scripture. I'm going to grab a precept real quick. Salakia. This is Jeremiah 50:45. It reads, therefore, hear ye the counsel of Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon, which is, i.e., America. It says, and his purposes, that he have purposed against the land of the Chaldeans, right? And these are the daughters of the Chaldeans, man, right? Going out, went out to deceive these nations, right? With, having the sword in their hands, stealing resources, unaliving people, this is that same spirit, man. That's, it says, and his purposes, that he have purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. So he has a purpose against this place, man, right? It says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them, right? So the least of the flock going into the state of Israel, drawing America out to this, into, help them with their proxies, right? And which is going to lead up to World War III, because the BRICS nations backs Iran, right? And the U.S. backs the state of Israel, right? As well as the U.S. has already been starting to make people upset. I'm not going to call them enemies just yet, but people are upset going into NATO, right? NATO countries, right? Dealing with Greenland, they feel like they can't trust America anymore, all right? And it says, and that also plays a major part in prophecy, man. All right, it says, but it says, surely the least of the flock, right? And the least of what flock? The Idumeans, right? It says the least of the flock, man. So the state of Israel is drawing them out, right? The United States, man. Drawing the United States out to help them with this war, man. To back them, to be a hammer for them and with them, all right? So, and it's all to go against the Iran, man. Let's jump to Salaki. I didn't mean to do that. Let's jump to Joel real quick. All right, so we have to understand, man, we will send out to give out this information to our people, man. All right, to warn our people of the upcoming events, to warn our people of the prophecy. All right, let's go to Joel 3 real quick before we get into that. Let's go to Joel 3, and we're going to go down to verse 9. All right, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right? Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. All right, and that's what's happening right now, as you see all of these wars cranking up, right? Especially in the Middle East, man. All right, there's always been beef in the Middle East. It says, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, right? And you see the state, you see the mindset of Iran right now, man. They for the last, you know, 10 years, man. You know, or so, you know, their mindset has been on building up their military and their weaponries, man. It says, "Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up." Right. And here's the point. It says, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong." Right. And this is Iran saying that they are strong, man. You know, they have no longer working on their agriculture, right? And, you know, they have been working on their military force and their weaponry, man. Dealing with their missiles and their nuclear sites, you know, all of this stuff, man. They have literally been building up, you know, getting information and intelligence and technology information, with information on different technology and on how to build new, you know, ICBMs or other missiles, should I say, and how they've been spending money on. They just bought 1,000 drones, you know, so they have beat their plowshares and pruning hooks into spears and swords, man. You know, dealing, you know, and that's just going into today's sword and be stuff like the actual drones, the missiles, you know, stuff like that. All right, let's jump over to second address real quick. I'm gonna have to pull up something real quick. Let's get this. All right, let's go to second address. Right, because the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right, has you know, a purpose for these nations, man, and He told us to warn our people, right, of that purpose, and He also told us, you know, basically to do these videos, man, and make it plain for them to understand, you know. So while we go through our breakdowns, whether they believe it or not, you know, it's not for us to force them to believe it. It's for us to do the work, all right, whether they believe it or not. This is second address 15, and I'm gonna start from when it says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people." Right. So just like how the disciples and all the other prophets wrote letters, right, to warn the people, you know, we doing the same thing. It just today it'll be something called YouTube or other, you know, devices or apps that you can use, or recording apps that you can use to record videos and put it on YouTube or other social media platforms, man, to get the word out, man. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy," right? And that's our job, man. You know, just like it was the prophet's job in the ancient times, it's our job now, right? To prophesy to our people, man, and make it plain upon tables. It says, "Which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua," right? These are His prophecies, right? Just like we was reading, He has a purpose. Right, everything has a purpose. Everything has a time, right? And this place has a purpose, man. It has a purpose to be destroyed, right? For its wickedness, man. You know, the Lord is going to show His power again, just like He did with Egypt, man. This place has a purpose, though, man. And we have to understand, regardless of how people feel in America, this place has a judgment or a purpose to be destroyed in front of the world, man. And it's going to happen, you know, rather people believe it or not. So at the end of the day, we're going to continue to prophesy to our people and give them, you know, and speaking in their ears, you know, giving them the information, giving them the breakdown on the prophecies, right? So they can prepare themselves, right? Verse 2, it says, "And cause them to be written in paper for they," and this is our paper today, man. I'm putting our stuff on YouTube and other social media platforms. It says, you know, speaking about video, it says, "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true," because these are His prophecies. This is His word. This is His saying. This is His judgment that's coming. All right, it's faithful and true, whether you believe it or not, man. It says, "Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity, the unbelief of them trouble thee that speak against thee." Right. So regardless if they, you know, speak against our videos and our prophecies, right, we're going to continue to push them out because they are faithful and true, right? Speaking of places like the state of Israel, drawing them out, right? The least of them, the Idumeans, right? You know, Satan with Satan, right? Or as my elder said, the wolf feeding the wolf, man. You know, it's drawing America out. It says, "Fear fear not the imagination against thee. Let not the unbelief or the incredulity of them trouble thee, right? That speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, right? The sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, right? It's just like it said in the book of Job, right? The word was given into the hands of the wicked, and so the Lord has a purpose against all of these other nations, man, and he has a purpose for us. Speaking of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the true Israelites of the scriptures, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelites that are spread all across the world, man, right? North, east, south, and west. It says everything has a purpose, man, and the purpose of the United States and the purpose or the judgment for Israel is destruction, man, for their system to fall, right? Thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, right? It says, and meaning the whole system of Esau, not just those two, even NATO and the EU, as well as Russia, right? As well as the ones that, the other heathens as well, Moab, Ammon, all of them have their own judgment, man, The only ones that's going to be in the kingdom and be saved out of this, World War III nuclear destruction is going to be the elect of Israel, the elect, right, of Israel. Speaking of the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and the speckled bird, the elect of them, which is the 1/3 men, women, and children, and 144,000 men, the governing body of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. It says, behold, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, I will bring plagues upon the world, right? World War III, right? Jacob's trouble. It says the sword, famine, death, and destruction, right? It says, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. And that's what the state we are in right now, man. The Lord setting them up, putting them in, and getting his get the chess pieces put in the right places to bring to finalize his word, to complete his prophecies, man. And we're witnessing him do that now, right? It says, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and the righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Right, so the elect has been complaining, man. Screaming out to the Lord, take this devil down, man. With all the wickedness, look what happened during the Atlantic slave trade. Look what happened during the Sub-Saharan slave trade. They have to pay for that, man. For putting their hands and spilling the innocent blood, right? Of the Lord's people. It says, and therefore saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them. Who? Right? His loved ones, man. The elect of Israel, man. Right? It says, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold. And that was pretty much the point right there, man. Let's go to right. Let's go back to the blue letter. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Let's go to 3. And I'm just jump right to the point, man. Ecclesiastes 3:11, it says, he hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua maketh from the beginning to the end, man. So again, we don't let the unbelievers, trouble us, man. As I was just reading in 2nd Esdras, right? Because we know that the Lord prophecies are set for an appointed time. At the end of it all, they will speak, meaning his prophecies will speak. So, whether they believe it or not, it's going to happen. And see, 2/3 of our people are not going to believe it because he has put the world in their hearts. And of course, the heathen is not going to believe it because they are of the world, right? But they're not, so only the elect is going to understand the prophecies and believe in the prophecies, right? And be prepared in that day, right? It says, so that no man can find out the work that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua make it from the beginning to the end. See, and that's very important, man. You know, so without this truth, without the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, the spirit of prophecy, right? Speaking of the spirit of our Lord, right? Without that spirit, man, you won't have no understanding, no wisdom, knowledge, or understanding, or belief in these prophecies, man. You know, because our people are being led, you know, by wolves and sheep clothing, man. You know, going into these churches and the churches not teaching them no prophecy whatsoever, having them calling on the wrong names for salvation. You know, the Lord has set the world in their hearts, man. You know, and the only ones that's really gonna know this truth is the elect, man. All right, but it's not for us to be troubled by it. We're gonna continue to do our work. You know, we're gonna continue to speak the words of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua in the ears of our people. You know, rather they hear or forbear, man. We know 2/3 are going to not receive it, man. But we're here for the elect. We do this we do the work for Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, right? But we understand the only one's going to receive it is the elect, right? All right, let's jump to Habakkuk real quick. Habakkuk 2, all right, and we'll start from 1. Right. I would stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Right. Verse 2, it says, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision, right, just like we're doing now in these videos, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Right. So you'll have the understanding of what's coming, right? For the vision is yet for an appointed time. See, everything has a time, man. Everything has a purpose. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua just ain't create stuff just to create it with no purpose. Everything has a purpose. Everything is set for an appointed time. It says, but at the end it shall speak these prophecies and not lie. See, though it tarry, and that's the problem with most people. They thinking it's tarrying, it's taking too long, right? Or America will never be destroyed. You know, they have that in their mind because they feel like everything's been tarrying. They've been here for their whole life. They have never seen America, you know, take any losses, man. You know, but the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, said that's not, that's, their future says otherwise, right? That there will be losses, man. You know, a major loss, because this place will be turned into a lake of fire, man. It says, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. And that's what 2/3 of our people lack the understanding of, you know, because they feel like it's tarrying to them. They don't feel like World War III is coming. They don't feel like America will be moved out of, will lose its power seat. Even though all this stuff is, you know, these prophecies are, you know, all over the internet, man. You know, dealing with the elder apostles of GMS and their elders dealing with, or their younger elders dealing with, you know, the Lions Den camp right here in Jacksonville, Florida, under Elder Apostle Harwan, you know, that continuously putting out prophecy after prophecy, breakdown after breakdown, you know, breaking down these prophecies and put making it plain upon table. It says, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, right? I'm speaking of people like DJ Nero, right, or Trump. Behold, his soul which is lifted up, or Netanyahu, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith, man. Right? Going into the elect of Israel, man. We're gonna live by our faith and understanding and these prophecies, man. You know, it says, behold, his soul which is lifted up, right? Because, you know, they have exalted themselves, man. You know, in these high places. Right? It's not upright in him, man. You know, they're wicked people, man. You know, all they want to do is put themselves in high seats, and at the same time they basically stump on everyone else, man. You know, taking everything from them, you know, lying to them. You know, this is a wicked, you know, nation, man. You know, and I mean, and I'm not just talking about the U.S. I'm talking about Edom as a whole. You know, it's a wicked nation, man. You know, and Amalek over there in the state of Israel. You know, Esau too, man. You know, U.S., Russia, NATO countries. I mean, you know, the world was given into the hands of the wicked, man. And it says, they also, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death and cannot be satisfied. Right? You see what they do across the world, and I mean, you can go all the way back to the 1600s, you know, They've been um, you know, designing. They've been going out conquering and unaliving, right? They can't be satisfied. They want all the resources. They're gonna continue to push for all the resources and full control over the earth, man. That's their desire. Right? This is why, everywhere they go is unaliving. Everywhere they go is destruction, decay, you know, I mean, hell is beneath them, man. Everywhere they go, they bring forth death and hell, man. Period. Because they enlarges their desires as hell, man. They cannot be satisfied, man. So they're gonna continue to push and push and push and take and take and take and unalive, man. Their sins reach to the top, to the firmament, man. Up to the firmament. So you don't think Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is not gonna you know, touch their wickedness, as we were just reading in Second Esdras 15. He has a purpose though, man, and the purpose is to basically to bring them down in front of the world, and so Yahweh Bashim Yahushua can show his power to the world, that he's not to be played with, and that his prophecies were faithful and true, whether you believed it or not. All right, it says, but gather unto him all nations, right? America, man. It says, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, right? And a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, right? Look, prime example of Greenland, right? What is NATO saying right now? Right? They they feel like that's gonna be my next lesson, man. I was reading an article. NATO is basically saying that they can't trust America anymore, man. That they won't have no faith in this place anymore, regardless of what, because the damage has already been done. No matter what president comes up next, man, if there is another president, right? It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, right? Look at America, right? Look what NATO is saying. It says, and a taunting proverb. Look what Russia has been saying, look what Iran has been saying, and I'm saying against the United States, no country out there right now has any faith or trust. They're losing it, right? They're losing that trust and faith in America, man. The only ones that's able to draw them out into war, right? The least of them, which is the state of Israel, man. The 1948ers, man. It says, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, man. Look at Greenland. Denmark said, no, sir. It said, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, going into that debt. America has been in debt, man. And he's steady trying to crawl himself out and dig his way out. But instead of digging that hole deeper, right? Losing faith and trusting, from his NATO countries, right? Which is going to lead to Revelation 17:16, where they're going to turn and hate the whore, right? It says, verse 7, Habakkuk 2:7, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? See? Shall they not rise up suddenly, America? That shall bite thee, and await that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. See, I was just saying all this, man. Look what they have done to all the nations, man. All of the, the unaliving, all of the, taking resources, putting their military bases on everybody's country, man. It's they want full control, and that's the mindset of this place, man. Who can remove me out of my seat? They are the hammer of the earth. It says, verse 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. See, this place has a purpose, man. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has told us to come out and push these prophecies and give out the breakdown to our people, man. Right, to turn back to him now while you have chance, man, before he destroys this place, man. It says, because of men's blood, and because of men's blood, they're unaliving, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Right, man. It's like the scriptures be, the scriptures be speaking to those who can understand, man. And for those who can't understand, man, this was hid to you, man. Let's go to where is that at? 2 Corinthians. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Where's chapter 4? Right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2. All right, it's probably gonna go from verse 2, all right, to about 6. Yeah, to verse 2 to 6. It says, but have renounced. All right, we can start from 1. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, right? We have the same ministry and the same prophecies, the same breakdowns, the same understanding as Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, our Lord, as our Lord and Savior. Same thing he taught to the disciples. We have that same understanding, man. We speak the same, right? These are his words, right? It says, as we have received mercy, we faint not, right? We faint not. We continue to do this work in season, out of season. Verse 2, here's the point. But have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, man. So we have renounced all the wickedness, man, right? We're no longer in that Gentile state of mind. A lot of people that's in my camp has been, like my elder, he's been doing this for a long time, man. Been denounced the hidden things of dishonesty, man. All of us, man, was in a Gentile state of mind, being lied to as we was coming up in this world. Our parents taking part in Christmas and wicked holidays. Our parents having no understanding. Not everybody, but I'm just saying the majority. Some people, had parents that, was being taught the truth. And they was able to eat off their plates, man. But the majority of us had to be brought to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and be brought out of that darkness, man. So just like I was reading earlier about, not letting the incredulity, right, the unbelievers, trouble thee, man. We don't let it trouble thee, man, because, we understand the prophecies, man. And 2/3 of our people are just not going to get it, man. So at the end of the day, they're still walking in dishonesty. They're still walking in darkness, man. Right, it says, but have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, right, nor handling the word. And this is the point, nor handling the word of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua deceitfully. Right, so we're not out here, because you have people like IUIC, like Nate the Snake, who know the prophecies and breakdowns, but he threw it away, right? He no longer uses the name Yahweh or Yahushua, right? He no longer teaches the breakdowns and properly the way he was taught, right? He's coming up with his own craftiness, man. Salaki. He's coming up with his own dishonest. He's being dishonest and coming up with his own craftiness, man. And and handling the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua in a deceitful manner, right? And he's really he's really doing it as filthy lucre, man. Making money off the scriptures, man, in a deceitful way, right? But it reads, it says, but by manifestation of the truth, commanding ourselves to every man's conscience, right? We speaking the truth, man, to the people, right? It says, in the sight of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, but if our gospel, here's the point, but if our gospel, right, which is the truth, be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, right? The 2/3 of our people, right? In whom, right, the power of this world have blinded, right? The true power, right? Not the ones that think they're in power, right? The true power, right? Talking about Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, right? It says, in whom Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua of this world, right? The God of this world, right? Have blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Yahweh Shah Hamashiach, who is the image of his Father Yahweh, should shine unto them, right? So, the worlds are in their heart, man. So they're not going to stand the breakdown. They're not going to believe these videos when we, only the 1/3 and the 144 are going to have the understanding and the belief, right? And understand the prophecies and the breakdowns of these videos, man, of Yahweh and of the prophecies of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? But they're going to be able to recognize the true prophets that speaking the truth compared to the false prophets that are doing it in a deceitful manner, right? In the wickedness, man. It says, in whom, right? It says, in whom the God, right, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not, man. right? So regardless of what we say to them, right, they're blinded, man. They are of the world. They're not of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. All right, let's jump down to verse 5. It said, for we preach not ourselves, right, but Hamashiach Yahushua, the Lord, and ourselves, your servants of Yahushua's sake. Man. So we're not preaching the words, our own words. We're not doing this in the deceitful manner. We are rightly dividing the word of truth, giving you the proper breakdowns, right, so you can be prepared for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right. Verse 6, for Yahweh, who commanded the light to shine, right, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, have shined in our hearts, right, that he has given us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to, right, here's the point, to give the light of the knowledge, right, of the glory of Yahweh in the face of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So again, the Lord has given us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right, the breakdown of these prophecies, right, to give, he has given us the light for us to give the light unto others, man. But for the ones that are still walking in darkness, they have been blinded to this truth, right? Because remember, everything has a purpose, man, right? And part of that purpose is for the Lord to purge all the wickedness out of this place, and that even goes for 2/3 of his own, speaking of 2/3 of Israel, right? Not the state of Israel, but the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and the speckled bird that's, spread abroad, man. But bear the same spirit as such, man, All right, so, Lord willing, Salaki, I'm tripping. Let me get one more. Let's go to Isaiah real quick. All right, 47, man. Come on, fam. All right. Matter of fact, that's gonna be on my next lesson, man. It's gonna be my next lesson. All right, dealing with Babylon, man. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying for those who need to be edified too. All right, shalom to the elect, Lions Den Camp, GMS, and the rest of the elect that's out there, of course. Shalom, Habatha, all right, and DTA.